Hi, it's Marty. I hope everybody's doing well today. We're talking again about speaking, how God speaks, and how God speaks to us, and it's in different ways. I know that I've covered that before. This is going to take a really different turn. A lot of youth groups around the area, and even in the United States and abroad, what they do is they get together and they worship and they pray. And when they do that, they ask God to give them certain people, give them visions. And you ask what a vision is. You know, sometimes we just close our eyes and pray, and you see something in your head. You see a situation, or it's not like this veil's dropped out from the sky and you get this. It's in your mind, and you see it, and you know that you've asked God for something, and you take that knowledge of what He's showing you, and you move with that. I have a friend here, Sarah. She goes to our church and is included in our youth group. Our youth group does a lot of really amazing missions, and they go out and they use that. They pray together and they worship together, and they ask God, show us, God, who you want us to talk to today. And when they do that, God delivers, and then miraculous things happen. So Sarah's going to share her testimony with us on one of those mission trips, and it's pretty amazing.
So every summer we go to New York, and this past year we did a little something different. We do this thing called treasure hunting, and basically we have a treasure map. And we pray and we ask God, and He'll show us different things like locations, names, appearances, and any other things that might lead us to people that we could pray for. So typically we have a group of people, but we split up into separate groups that we normally wouldn't talk to those people. So that way we know that it's God and it's not just all fun and games, and we're not going to get distracted. So from that point on, I was in a group, and we prayed, and we had a list of things that would kind of lead us in a direction
that God was showing you?
Yeah, in a way that God was showing us to go. So some of the things on our list were these: army green, heart problems, a person with clothes that looked like rags. And earlier that day, we were performing a drama skit at the church that we were staying at. And I had this vision of a woman who I thought was going to come in that day, but she didn't.
Tell us about that vision.
And in that vision...
were you praying?
Yeah, I was praying, and I was just in my alone time with God, and I saw this woman. She had blonde hair. She looked young at that time, and I could tell that she was very distressed, emotionally distressed. She had anxiety, and she was really stressed out. So I was waiting during the altar call for me to see this lady in the church, but I didn't see her. So I was a little disappointed, and I was like, okay, God, when am I going to see her? When am I going to find her? Because I know that, I didn't know what the outcome of her life was going to be. I didn't know if she was suicidal, if she felt hopeless, anything like that. And I felt like the urgency that I needed to help her. So later that day, when we were doing the treasure hunt, we were going out. We started walking, and we don't really know where we're going because we're strangers to the town. So we're walking, and we walked by the subway the first time. We didn't see anyone. It was pretty empty. So we're walking down some streets, and we start, walking almost out of the town, and we started kind of getting a little sketchy. So
because you're all young.
Yeah.
So it's scary being in a city. They were in New York, where there's not people you know or familiar with.
So we ended up turning around, and we started going back towards the subway. And at this time, we were standing on the corner of the subway, and we look over and we see, oh, there's an army sign on this pole, and oh look, the subway's green. So we're thinking, okay, this might get us in the direction that we need to go. So we're thinking, okay, maybe someone's going to come out of the subway entrance and we can pray for that person. Well, I knew I was looking for a woman, and everyone coming out was a man, and I'm like, okay, what's up? So I happened to look over to a house across the street, and there was this woman. She came outside to smoke a cigarette, and she's sitting there. And a girl that was in my group said, Sarah, isn't that the girl that you described to me earlier? And I'm looking at her, and I'm like, well, I don't know. So I was looking at her, and I'm like, man, that does really look like her, and, this could be a good opportunity to see if it's her. So she's sitting there, and I'm starting to get more nervous, questioning myself, not God, but myself. Is this what I really want to be doing right now? I'm kind of afraid because I don't know how she's going to react.
That's scary.
I know, and I tried to talk myself out of it, and really that wasn't what I should have been doing. But she got up, the lady got up because she was done smoking her cigarette and she was about to go in the house. I'm like, oh my God, this is the last chance that I have. I'm not going to knock on her door because that's just even scarier for me to do. So me and my group of friends ran over and we said, excuse me, and she thought we were lost, you know, we needed directions for the subway, but we knew we had a better plan. So I explained to her, I said, hey, we're from Pennsylvania, and we're on this thing called a treasure hunt, and I said, God showed me a vision of you earlier, and here you are, and I'm here to pray for you, and I said, do you have any anxiety in your life and anything like that, because that's what God showed me. And she said, yeah, my 2 or 3 brothers just passed away. Her father died, and she just moved her mother in with her, and she lost her job. So there was financial problems, there was family problems, you know, she was distressed because she lost her family members. And she was crying, she was weeping, and, you know, we got to minister to her and
How did you
pray for
minister to her?
Well, we prayed for her, you know, prayed peace over her, and we just wanted to be a friend to her, you know, show her that she's not alone, and just give her comfort in some way, and show her that, you know, God is able to help her in her situation.
That He would send somebody from Pennsylvania to help
Yeah,
her.
exactly, strangers from Pennsylvania.
How did she respond when you told her that you had a vision of her?
She didn't seem surprised, but that's because we later found out that she went to church.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess,
she handled that okay.
Yeah, she handled it well.
Sometimes that would freak people out, I think.
Sometimes it does.
Yeah.
I will tell another story. We went to Maryland this time, and we were on the boardwalk. And
so this was a different youth trip.
This is Maryland, yes. This was
Okay.
the same summer, but a different youth trip.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're walking, we prayed again like we did before in New York, and I saw a black woman wearing pink and black pants. So I was like, alright, that's my lead. I'm going to walk through the boardwalk and find people that are wearing that and look like that.
That was what you got in your prayers?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're walking, and we were walking through this one place. It was like sort of a small amusement park type of thing, and we saw this one girl, and she fit my description. And again, I was like, is it her? Is it not? Because there's a lot of people on the boardwalk. It could be someone else. And I was in a group with 2 boys and 1 other girl, and the guys were like, you need to approach her because you're a female, and you need to pray for her. You need to lead this. And I'm like, well, what about the other girl in my group? I was like, why can't she do it? But she was too scared too, and I'm like, I just need to buck up, and I just need to do this.
We're working for God.
Yeah, I'm a youth leader. I need to just do it, get out of my comfort zone. So we ended up walking up to her. She was in a group of guys and some other girls, and I'm like, oh my Lord. So I approached her, and I, explained to her what we were doing. I explained to her, that God gave us, these things, and look, here you are, you're wearing pink, black pants, you fit my description. So she didn't really have anything that we specifically needed to pray for, but we did pray for her anyways, just, and I think sometimes God does that, just so people know that there are people out there that do have encounters, so they can have encounters with God, and
right.
even just a snippet of what God is doing in other people's lives. So, flash forward maybe an hour or so, we're walking again, we're at the end of the boardwalk, and we're like, okay, we're not finding anyone else on our list. So we have them look over, and look, there's 2 or 3 other girls that were wearing pink and black pants. And I'm like, well, we already talked to someone like that. Why do we need to do it again? But sometimes God does that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're standing there, and they're in the line getting food, and they keep looking at us. And I'm like, okay, guys, we need to do this, or we need to go, because I don't want them to think that we're stalking them,
Right.
So there was a street performer, and I said, let's just go. So we walked away, and we were at the street performer watching this guy perform. And I said, okay, God, if you want us to pray for these girls, let us encounter them again. So what do you know? They're right behind us. Literally right behind us, standing right behind us as we're watching the street performance. I'm like, all right, here we go again,
Mm-hmm.
And, once it was over, we looked around, and they were walking away, and I said, excuse me, and this girl, one of the girls that was the group got out big-eyed. She's like, and started walking away, and she's like, no, keep walking away. But, so we're like, all right, I guess that's just whatever, that's just going to happen. So we were standing there, and we were trying to figure out where we're going to go from there, and the one girl walks back, and she's like, "You got something to say to me?" And I'm like,
"Do you think you wanted to fight?"
"I don't know." But I was like, "Yeah, we're on a youth missions trip, and, you know, God gave us this vision, and, you know, and we prayed, and we got these things from God, and, you know, we see that you're wearing this exact apparel, and, you know, we wanted to pray for you." And she's like, "All right."
Good.
And I said, "Do the rest of your friends want to pray?" And the one girl was like, no. And she's like, "You can just stay right there." You know, so we got to pray to the one, and I also prayed over the rest of everyone in the group. Not just, you know, they weren't there and they didn't want to, but I prayed anyways, just so they could be touched. Mm-hmm. So it's like, people might be oppositional, but you can still touch them.
And that can plant a seed.
Exactly.
For future.
Mm-hmm.
That they had this, like you said, they had this encounter and they saw how God was moving through young people. That's not an easy thing to do.
I know.
It's not an easy thing to do for an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So I can imagine.
Yeah. That's my story.
I think that's wonderful. Wonderful. And that's the thing. There are so many ways, and that is the reason for this channel, is to highlight all these different ways that God works. He is amazing. He, you know, we can say to Him every morning, "God, today, move me in the steps that you want me to move in. Lead me to who needs me today." You could pray that every morning and let God lead your every step, which He's going to do anyway, but isn't it amazing to be aware and in line with that? And the youth group is such a wonderful, you know, way that they amaze me at their belief. They amaze me at their boldness. And if you can gain that as a teenager, you know, the sky's the limit when they're adults and what they're going to be able to do for God. And right now, this is what we need. We need revival.
Yeah.
We need people that are willing to work for God. He wants us to be like the disciples of old. You know, we think like, oh, well, that was then and that was what He wanted to do. No, God's the same yesterday, today, and forever. He still wants us doing that. And we have to do it. And there's going to be people called out that He calls out in all realms, in all different types of groups, because it takes different people to reach different people. Somebody that I may be able to reach, a youth may not be able to reach. Maybe the youth would be more responsive to the youth. Mm-hmm. So we have to look at those avenues and see where we can benefit God. What can I do for God? And somebody may be watching this and say, "I'm 80 years old. What could I possibly do for God?" Well, you know, we were at praying for some elderly at a high-rise the other day, and the one woman said, she was in her 80s, she said, I pray here every night in her living room, you know, I just pray every night. And she said, I do our walks around the hallways to keep my legs going. And she said, that night, I always do it during the day, but that night, something just kept telling me I need to walk at night. And I thought, I don't walk at night. But I kept feeling that urge. She said, so I did. And there was a woman 2 doors down that had fallen out of bed and was stuck in between the dresser and the bed crying for help. She said, that was the Holy Spirit leading me. So she's 80-some years old, and she's listening to God's voice, and she saved that lady who maybe would have laid there and died. So we all have a place. We all have a part, no matter what color, what age, whatever. So we have to find what's special and unique about us and use it for God's glory, because He made us particularly for that purpose. We all have a purpose. And I hope today this inspires you to find your purpose. Thank you so much for spending this time with us, and we will see you again Thursday. God bless.